Look to your left. Now, look to your right. Look behind you. Then, look in front of you. One of you that wants to become a software engineer will never become one. If you are watching this video alone during your morning poo, then I feel sorry for you because you are the one that will never become a software engineer. Wait, don't click away. The whole point of this video is to keep you from becoming more than just a statistic that some guy made up while living in his mother's basement. Wait, who added that to the script? I live in the attic. Anyway, if you watch this video to the very end, then you will know exactly what you need to do today to be on the right path to becoming a software engineer. The biggest mistake that I see wannabe software engineers make is never getting started. They start off by watching The Social Network and see how little
wget magic is all that's necessary to download the entire Kirkland Facebook.
And then they get sucked into the movie, load up on the popcorn, and then fall asleep, never having written a single line of code or even downloading the entire Kirkland Facebook. Sure, that is on the extreme side of things. The person I'm describing is an armchair software engineer that thinks it's an incredibly easy skill to acquire, but it can also be more innocent. How many programming books have you ordered? How many tutorials have you worked through? How many things have you built on your own without a template set out in front of you? To ask another way, how many problems have you solved as opposed to being in the passenger seat of someone solving the problem? If you only have experience sitting in the passenger seat, then you aren't going to get very far. Everyone that has ever learned to drive a car has sat in the passenger seat to observe what the other person was doing. Eventually though, you need to get into the driver's seat and start writing some code and solving some problems. Is this harsh? Maybe. Would it be harsher for me to watch you pretend to be a software engineer and say you will eventually get there? Definitely. So now that you are fully awake and ready to get into the driver's seat, the next thing to do is to pick out a personal project to work on. The only thing that matters about this project is that you are passionate about it, or at least have a waning interest in it. If you're bad at coming up with ideas, you might consider building a recipe app where you can both find new recipes and share your results from following the recipe, a net worth calculator and tracker, a lunch picker that helps you pick something out to eat when you can't decide what you want. You could try making a to-do list app because who doesn't love a good to-do list? Or you could build a word game for your friend so they can have something to do every morning during their morning poop. I already made that joke. So now that you have your side project in mind, leave a comment down below letting us know what you are going to work on. This is a good way to hold yourself accountable and to actually build the thing instead of just thinking about building the thing. The next step is to find the time to build this project. It's important to make sure that this will be sustainable over a longer period of time, so I would recommend against going off and building this in a single weekend. If you do build it in a single weekend, make sure you have another project lined up to work on and think about how you can work on this project as part of your normal daily routine. You could plan on spending the first 1 to 2 hours every morning hacking away at your project. If you aren't a morning person, no problem. Work on your project in the evening or whenever works best for you. A couple hours every day should be enough time to make some progress on your project without becoming overwhelmed or burnt out on your learning. This also allows for what is known as the compound effect to start doing its magic. Understanding this is the key to being successful at anything in life, which includes becoming a software engineer. Essentially, you want to focus on making small, everyday choices that can then compound over time. Imagine if you started working on your personal project 1 year ago and worked on it for 2 hours every day. Where do you think you would be today? Another way to think about this is if you wanted to lose weight, instead of getting into a strict workout routine, you could instead eat 100 fewer calories per day. Over the course of a year, you would lose around 10 pounds by doing essentially nothing. Small changes in your life can lead to dramatic results, and if you'd like to learn more about the compound effect, then I'd recommend checking out today's sponsor, Shortform. With Shortform, you get access to the world's best guides to nonfiction books. Whether you want to learn about business, self-improvement, technology, psychology, or anything in between, Shortform has you covered. I would never recommend a product that I don't use myself, and Shortform actually plays a pivotal role to help with the research for all of my videos, this one included. While I read the compound effect years ago, I couldn't remember all of the key pieces of information. Since I use Shortform, this wasn't a problem because all I had to do was search for the compound effect, find their one-page summary, and within 20 minutes, I remembered all of the important key takeaways that I had forgotten. Shortform is more than just written book guides though. They also offer narrated book summaries that can make your morning commute far more productive. If you want to learn more about the compound effect or just have the world's best book guides at your fingertips, go to shortform.com/Cody to get started with the free 5-day trial. Along with that trial, you'll also get a 20% discount on an annual subscription, which costs about as much as one book per month. What are you waiting for? Go sign up for Shortform using that link down below the like button right now. Okay, so hopefully you understand the power that building small habits can have on your life. If you don't, seriously, go sign up for Shortform right after this video and read through the compound effect. It will change your life almost as much as this video. At this point though, you are probably confused because I haven't even talked about what programming language or JavaScript framework you should be using. The reason why I haven't talked about that yet is because it's far less important. A programming language is a means to an end. You have a problem you want to solve, and you use a programming language to solve it. That programming language might require some other technologies, such as using Google Cloud to run your application or store your data that it's generating. All of that is stuff that you will learn about during your 2-hour programming sessions. If you are going to build a web application, then you'll probably end up using JavaScript and perhaps Python. If you need to store some data, then you might learn about MongoDB, Firebase Firestore, or some SQL dialect such as MySQL or Postgres. If you want to instead build a mobile application, then maybe you'll learn Dart alongside Flutter to do cross-platform development. You may choose to go with Swift if you only want an iOS app, or Kotlin if you only wanted an Android app. During that 2-hour window every day, you will be able to find tutorials to learn about those technologies, but your end goal for the day should always be to write some code for your personal project. Even if it's just 2 lines of code, it's 2 more lines of code than you had yesterday. Another valuable skill this will teach you is learning to fend for yourself and find the answers to the questions that you have. Hollywood does a terrible job at depicting what software engineers actually do day to day. Yes, there are some moments where we know exactly how to solve the problem and are click-clacking away on our annoying mechanical keyboards. Most of the time though, that click-clacking is being directed towards Google, which usually directs us to some condescending Stack Overflow answer that solves our problem. I know it might sound pretty crazy, but using Google will be between 30 to 90% of your day-to-day tasks as a programmer. While you're working on your personal project and learning to code, you should also use this as an opportunity to learn how to use GitHub. GitHub is a service that makes use of Git, which is a version control system that you would most likely make use of every day when you become a software engineer. At this point in time though, it's less important to understand everything about Git and more important that you create an account on GitHub and just start using it. After creating your GitHub account, you will want to create a repository for your personal project. This repository is where all of your source code for the project will live. The way you get your code into the repository is by first cloning the repository to your local machine. You can use GitHub's desktop client, or if you want to use the client that I'm using for this video, I'd recommend Gitkraken, and we'll include a link to download the client down below that Shortform signup link. Once you have the project cloned to your machine, every change that you make will be tracked and can be synced with the GitHub repository by simply creating a new commit and pushing that commit up to GitHub. This is a fairly simplified way of using version control, and as you progress in your learning, you should definitely spend some time learning about Git and branching strategies. For now though, all that matters is that you are getting started and focusing on getting something done instead of striving for absolute perfection. In fact, throw perfection out the door, as that can be a fast track to burning out and giving up. If given enough time, you will eventually be ashamed of every line of code you have ever written. For myself, it usually takes around 3 to 6 weeks before I regret the code that I wrote. This might sound bad, but it's actually a good thing. The reason it's good is because the only way you'd know the code sucks is by being better than your past self. If you ever come back to code you wrote a year or more in the past and aren't ashamed of it, that's probably a sign that you've stopped learning. So please, go off and write some embarrassing code. I promise you that you will learn something and become a better programmer because of it. While writing bad code isn't a sign that you're a bad programmer, there are 7 things that you should keep in mind to avoid embarrassing yourself in front of your future coworkers. If you want to avoid coming off as being an inexperienced programmer, then I'd recommend checking out this video next. If you want to join a community of software engineers, then be sure to join our Discord community. A link can be found in the description, and it's completely free to join. That's it. That's the video.